Our top story now, the Health Ministry has called for tighter screening at the airports for passengers coming in from South Africa, Hong Kong and Botswana. This is where a new variant of COVID, B1.1529, has been found with multiple mutations, and this has led to a surge in infections there. Union Health Secretary's letter to state says that multiple cases of COVID variant B1.1529 have been reported in Botswana, 3 cases South Africa, 6 cases in Hong Kong, 1 case. This variant is reported to have significantly high number of mutations and has serious public health implications for the country in view of the recently relaxed visa restrictions and opening up of international travel. It's therefore imperative that all international travels traveling from and transiting through these countries are subjected to rigorous screening and testing. Now, experts say this new variant is likely to have immune escape mechanism given its mutations. Scientists blame the new variant for the surge in infections in South Africa. The South Africa Health Minister has said that this is a variant of serious concern and is behind the exponential rise in cases there. South Africa has reported over 1,200 daily cases. That's up from 100 daily cases earlier in November. A day after a cluster outbreak was reported at the STM Medical College and Hospital in Karnataka, where 66 students tested positive. The health department today will subject nearly 3,000 both clinical and non-clinical staff to COVID tests. In its college premises, nearly 66 students tested positive after attending a college freshers party that was organized in its premises on the 17th of November. As we speak, 286, that includes students and staff, have undergone COVID tests. Out of them, 66 are positive. These students were fully vaccinated, according to the health commissioner. While some of the students were a part of the vaccination drive organized by the government, the rest of the students had taken their jabs at their local primary health centers. Karnataka is one of the many states where the number of COVID cases have dwindled in the past several weeks. Today, the state reports a daily caseload of 306 with a positivity rate of 0.36%. The largest, longest continuous protest in the history of independent India today completes a year. Thousands of farmers from Haryana and Punjab are headed to Shingu and Tikri borders of the national capital as they protest against the centre's farm laws at the Delhi borders completes 1 year today. These farmers from parts of both states include Amritsar, Jalandhar, Firozpur, Patiala, Rohtak, Kurukshetra, Bhiwani have reached Delhi borders. The Samyukt Kisan Morcha, the umbrella body of various farmer unions spearheading the ongoing stir, has said that the farmers' movement, which began on the 26th of November last year, will complete 1 year of its historic struggle. Most importantly, a meeting of the SKM will be held on the 27th, that's tomorrow, at the Shingu border, during which the farm unions will then take a decision regarding the further course of action. Let's go across to Akshay now for more. And Akshay, tell us more about what's planned for today to mark 1 year of the farmers' protest at Delhi borders, completing that 1 year.
Today is a very significant day and a symbolic day for the farmers' agitation, which is being seen as one of the largest and longest continuous protests in the history, as you rightly mentioned. As far as the preparations are concerned, it was a surprise move by the central government to roll back the farm laws, and the preparation for today was made much prior to that. And the plan remains as it was as far as the announcements were concerned by the Samyukt Kisan Morcha. So there are going to be several events in today's program, where the farmer unions, the farmers are headed to the borders of the national capital of Ghazipur, Tikri and Singhu, and where farmers from these states will be coming and gathering and agitating. And now that the farm laws have been repealed, the main demand remains a guarantee on MSP, apart from the demands of rehabilitation and compensation that the Samyukt Kisan Morcha has been asking for the 683 farmers who have lost their lives as far as this stir is concerned. Apart from the border areas of the national capital, in each and every state, the Samyukt Kisan Morcha plans to hold agitations in the capitals of all the states, and a Mahapanchayat is Mahadharna is being planned for Hyderabad today, where Kisan Mazdoor Mahapanchayat is going to be organized in Mumbai's Azad Maidan as well. So, and that is going to happen on 28th, however. But this is a plan from 26 to 29 to mark the one-year agitation. It's not only going to complete on one day, that is today, but it is going to continue at least till 29th, when the farmers plan to march through the parliament when the winter session starts on tractors. So they have been saying that 500 tractors will enter into the national capital, and they will agitate, raising their demands of compensation and rehabilitation for the people who have lost their life, for the farmers who have lost their life, and also a guarantee on MSP, which the farm unions have been demanding from the beginning, along with the repeal of the three farm laws. So it is going to be an eventful day, Gargi. Let's wait and watch that what exactly happens. But certainly, the farmers plan to up the ante against the central government as far as their outstanding demands are concerned.
All right, Akshay, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. So 1 year of the farmers' protest. In other news, a strong and shallow earthquake of magnitude 6.1 struck the Myanmar-India border region early this morning. This according to the Euro-Mediterranean Seismological Center. According to the alert by the independent organization and provider of real-time earthquake information, the quake struck 174 kilometers east of Bangladesh's Chittagong, and the tremors were felt as far away as West Bengal, Tripura and Assam in eastern India. Mamata Banerjee's unprecedented coup in Meghalaya, the joining of 12 of the 17 Congress MLAs led by Mukul Sangma late Wednesday evening, started with a meeting between the election strategist Prashant Kishore and the senior Congress leader. Mukul Sangma has now said that the Trinamool Congress is the main opposition now to the BJP. Monadeepa Banerjee reports.
In Shillong, the aftermath of a coup by Trinamool, 12 of the Congress's 17 MLAs broke away and joined it. Mamata Banerjee's swiftest and hardest blow to the Congress yet came while the Bengal Chief Minister was ironically in Sonia Gandhi's neighborhood. Hours before the coup, this is what she had said. Mukul Sangma and company are the newest feathers in the cap of Mamata Banerjee as she steps on the gas to expand her footprint across the country with an eye on 2024. Sangma's farewell was not fond. He accused his alma mater of failing on the job. A chat in Kolkata with poll strategist Prashant Kishore helped him make up his mind, Sangma said. Kishore was also key to Trinamool's acquisition of former Congress Goa Chief Minister Luisine Valero.
The Indian National Congress is failing to really respond to its call of duty as a main opposition party. We have to take our political opponent hats on because that's what people expect. We can't just have lip service. I also end up meeting my friend Prashant Kishoreji. I'm very happy to disclose that when we interacted, I felt that we share the same objective aim.
Not once but twice, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi met Mr. Congrade Sangma and tried to placate him. But he seemed predetermined to break the Congress party in Meghalaya. Now the Congress says it will have to start from the drawing board, from the block to block, to ensure that those 12 MLAs who have left find a replacement and help the party resurrect itself in the northeastern state.
On Tuesday, two other Congress leaders, Kirti Azad and Ashok Tanwar, signed up with Trinamool. Adhir Chaudhary once again accused Mamata Banerjee of chipping away at Congress to help BJP, so her nephew is spared by Enforcement Directorate.
बात यही है अपने भतीजे को टीएमसी पार्टी को कद्दावर नेता को जो चोरी किए हैं घोटाला किया बचाना के उनका सबसे बड़ा प्राथमिकता.
With her footprint in Meghalaya, Trinamool has now expanded beyond Bengal to Tripura, Goa, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana and Bihar as well. Mamata Banerjee insisting her goal is BJP Hatao. Mamata Banerjee headed back from Delhi to Kolkata but left the capital wondering about the impact of her Meghalaya midnight coup on her special equation with Sonia Gandhi and eventually opposition unity against the BJP. With Sunil Prabhu and Azam Siddiqui, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
In fact, in Delhi, Sonia Gandhi chaired a strategy meeting ahead of the parliament session, and interestingly, the Congress called for opposition unity.
पार्टी के जो विषय है महत्वपूर्ण विषय है, चाहे वो इन्फ्लेशन का हो, चाहे पेट्रोल डीजल का हो, चाहे चाइनीज का एग्रेशन का मुद्दा हो, और दूसरे पार्टी के नेताओं से भी बात करके हमको इस विषय पे एकजुट होके लड़ने के लिए हम सभी तैयार होना चाहिए। टीएमसी सभी लोगों से हम कांटेक्ट करेंगे, रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे, जैसा कि जो लास्ट सेशन में हमने किया था।
Now to Punjab, where it's a battle to win over the women voters. Women are 46% of voters in the state. And what are the promises that the parties are making ahead of elections? Mohammad Ghazali reports.
Arvind Kejriwal's special focus on women in Punjab, with an unprecedented soap of 1,000 rupees a month to every woman over 18 in Punjab, something the Delhi CM hasn't done even in his own state. So these women National Health Mission employees protesting just a few kilometers away for their jobs to be regularized have mixed reactions.
ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਲਾਰੇ ਲਾਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ, ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਜੋ ਕਿਹਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕੀਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ। ਸਾਨੂੰ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਸਾਡੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਕਰੋ, ਸਾਡਾ ਹੈਲਥ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਵਧੀਆ ਕਰੋ, ਰੋਜ਼ਗਾਰ ਦਿਓ ਤਾਂ ਜੋ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਗੁਜ਼ਾਰਾ ਆਪਦਾ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਨਾ ਕਰ ਸਕੇ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਪਾਹਜ ਨਾ ਬਣਾਓ।
Aam Aadmi Party is trying to tap into one of the largest vote banks in Punjab, the 93.75 lakh women, or over 46% of the total voters. In 2017 polls, 78.5% male voters and 79.2% female voters cast their vote. But where will the money come from? While all parties are on an announcement spree, the state's finances are a concern. The current Congress-led government will leave behind a projected debt burden of at least 2.82 lakh crore rupees. Congress too is wooing women voters after Priyanka Gandhi promised women 40% of the tickets in UP polls. Navjot Sidhu said 50% of the tickets would be given to women in Punjab.
ਉਹ ਔਰਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੰਕਾ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਯੂਪੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 40% ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਔਰਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੇ ਉੱਥੇ 40 ਮਿਲਿਆ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ 50 ਮਿਲੇ।
Women empowerment is a diverse subject and more things have been said than done in the past. Electorally, it may benefit the parties, but only time will tell whether these promises really change the fate of women in Punjab. With Tanmoy Samanta in Moga in Chandigarh, Mohammad Ghazali, NDTV.
With that, time for a break. Coming up on the other side, why price of vegetables has skyrocketed in Karnataka. Welcome back. A look now at vegetable prices in Karnataka and how they have skyrocketed. Rains in Karnataka have damaged crops on over 5 lakh hectares of land, and due to this, vegetable prices have gone up. The price of tomatoes have touched 95 rupees a kilo. The price of tomatoes, which usually stays around 20 to 30 rupees a kilo during winter, has more than doubled in the southern parts of the country following the heavy rain in Andhra, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Other vegetables have also witnessed a significant price rise hitting household budgets. Time for a break. Coming up on the other side, how missing former Mumbai top cop Parambir Singh finally appeared and was questioned by the crime branch. We get you details. Well, Welcome back. Former Mumbai Police Commissioner Parambir Singh resurfaced on Thursday and appeared before the crime branch in Mumbai. After appearing before Mumbai Police's crime branch in connection with the extortion cases, Parambir Singh said that he's cooperating with the investigation and that he has full faith in the court. His lawyer said that the former police commissioner has given his statements before the crime branch and will continue to cooperate in the probe.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट के आदेश के अनुसार मैंने आज इन्वेस्टिगेशन ज्वाइन किया है, कोऑपरेट किया इन्वेस्टिगेशन के साथ एंड इससे ज़्यादा मुझे कुछ कहना नहीं है एंड जैसा कोर्ट का आदेश रहेगा मुझे कोर्ट के ऊपर पूरा विश्वास है एंड कोर्ट के आदेश के हिसाब से आगे की कार्रवाई होगी.
Now, an NDTV special ground report from the launch of the world's fourth largest international airport in Jewar in Noida. The foundation stone was laid by the Prime Minister yesterday. Here we examine the plans and designs for Asia's biggest airport, which is expected to serve over 1 crore people a year.
So we have the Chief Development Officer, Mr. Nicholas Schenk, with us of the Noida International Airport, and we have got these cool 3D hologram glasses on because he's giving us a 3D experience. Mr. Nicholas, the design of the airport, I want to ask you what thought has gone into this, which we can see in a 3D form right now?
In the thought and the overall design is to have the area available to use it in the most efficient way and to provide as maximum infrastructure to cover the whole demand coming out of this whole area. And this 3D model helps us. This is actually kind of called hologram, and these are the HoloLenses, where compared to the physical model which you have seen outside with these devices, you have the possibility to zoom in, to zoom out, to turn the pictures or
go inside like a virtual airport,
like a virtual tour, and you can really like get a glimpse of how then it will look like and how Instagrammable our design of the terminal is, but also you get a better dimension or a better feeling of the dimensions of the size, of the length of the whole airport, and and for this this is a great tool to kind of showcase all that.
To explain to people what it has. So this is phase 1 or the overall airport?
No, this is what you see highlighted, which is hatched in a lighter light. This is the phase 4, 70 million airport, and then you have the other runways, which then will be the post our concession duration. But that's like
we can actually. This is how it is going to be developed. The Noida International Airport will be written in this particular way. You will have. It's a pretty neat model, I must say.
And now it's already experienceable in a 3D version. So as you would drive by with your own car, then later when we then really have built it. I mean, from here you still have to physically construct it. That's because we also intend to be a very digital airport. So we had the idea of saying, let's explore how much digital we can go in the planning and in the design and in showcasing the design to explain it to the larger audience.
You know, you should throw this open to the public at some point.
Then you have to send it with the HoloLenses. So that's maybe the only limitation, that it is only visible with the HoloLenses. But
no, like a little gallery where people can come and see the airport.
That is something we have planned. There will be an information center at the airport when we then start the construction within the next couple months, and we will for sure have these kind of tools to showcase our airport project.
Well, as the Chief Development Officer, I would say happy developing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
गौतम बुद्ध नगर के सांसद हमारे साथ आ गए हैं. डॉक्टर शर्मा, आज गर्व का माहौल है.
देखिए, गर्व मेरे जीवन की बहुत खुशियों में से एक बहुत बड़ा खुशी का दिन है. मैं समझता हूँ इतनी बड़ी खुशी मेरे जीवन की 62 वर्ष की मेरी आयु में से बहुत खुशी का दिन है कि अपने क्षेत्र की जनता का मैं समझता हूँ कर्ज उतारने का एक मौका हम सब लोगों को मिला. मैं धन्यवाद देता हूँ अपने प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का. धन्यवाद
लगता है कितना विकास जो अब तक हुआ नोएडा का, ये एक एयरपोर्ट क्या कर सकता है?
ये अकेला एयरपोर्ट हमारे देश का गेम चेंजर होगा. 1 लाख लोगों को सीधे रोजगार मिलेगा, 5 लाख लोगों को यहाँ पर रोजगार मिलेगा। मैं समझता हूँ ये अपने आप में भविष्य का सपना जो हमारा था, ये अपना मेरा सबसे बैकवर्ड क्षेत्र होता था, और यहाँ पर MRO बन गया है, कार्गो यहाँ पर बन गया है, दिल्ली हवाई अड्डे से 2.5 गुना ज़्यादा बड़ा, मुंबई हवाई अड्डे से 4 गुना ज़्यादा बड़ा, और सारी इंडस्ट्री यूनिट्स यहाँ पर है। इसकी कनेक्टिविटी अपने आप में, ये यमुना एक्सप्रेसवे के माध्यम से लखनऊ तक से जुड़ना, ईस्टर्न पेरिफेरल के माध्यम से जुड़ना, और अब पूर्वांचल एक्सप्रेसवे के माध्यम से जुड़ना, ये अपने आप में।
मेरा आखिरी सवाल डॉक्टर शर्मा, आप मुझे ये बताइए कि विकास में कोई पीछे ना रह जाए, ये सुनिश्चित करना कितना जरूरी है? बहुत सारे ऐसे किसान हैं, उन्होंने शिकायतें की हैं, उनका घर तोड़ दिया लेकिन उनको मुआवजा नहीं मिला।
मैं गवाह हूं
विकास, लेकिन उस पर उसका खामियाजा कोई ना भुगते।
नहीं, देखिए, ये मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाता हूँ जनप्रतिनिधि होने के नाते भी, कि किसी भी किसान को सबको मुआवजा मिला है। अधिकारी एक भी किसान आपको ये कह दे कि उसको मुआवजा ना मिला हो, तो मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाता हूँ और उनके विकास के में भी बहुत बड़ा फायदा होगा।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Hello and welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. Our top story: India on Thursday called for rigorous screening and testing of flyers coming from South Africa, Hong Kong and Botswana, where a new variant of COVID has been found with multiple mutations that have led to a surge in infections. In a letter to states and union territories, Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan asked them to ensure that samples of travellers turning positive and are sent to designated genome sequencing laboratories promptly. The contacts of these international travellers must also be closely tracked and tested according to the Health Ministry guidelines. The letter says that multiple cases of COVID variant B1.1529 have been reported in Botswana, South Africa and one case in Hong Kong. This variant is reported to have significant high number of mutations, has serious public health implications for the country in view of the recently relaxed visa restrictions and the opening up of international travel. Now, experts say that this new variant is likely to have immune escape mechanism. Scientists blame the new variant for the surge in infections in South Africa. The South Africa Health Minister has said that this is a variant of serious concern and is behind the exponential rise in cases. South Africa has reported over 1,200 daily cases. That's up from nearly 100 daily cases earlier in November. In other news now, a strong and shallow earthquake of magnitude 6.1 struck the Myanmar-India border region early today morning. This according to the Euro-Mediterranean Seismological Center. Now, according to the alert by the independent organization and provider of real-time earthquake information, the quake struck 174 kilometers east of Bangladesh's Chittagong, and tremors were felt as far away as in West Bengal, Tripura and Assam in eastern India. News from Mumbai now, where former Mumbai Police Commissioner and top cop Parambir Singh finally resurfaced on Thursday. He appeared before the crime branch in Mumbai. After appearing before the crime branch in connection with the extortion cases, Parambir Singh said that he is cooperating with the investigation and that he has full faith in the court. His lawyer said that the former police commissioner has given his statements before the crime branch and will continue to cooperate.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट के आदेश के अनुसार मैंने आज इन्वेस्टिगेशन ज्वाइन किया है, कोऑपरेट किया है इन्वेस्टिगेशन के साथ, एंड इससे ज़्यादा मुझे कुछ कहना नहीं है, एंड जैसा कोर्ट का आदेश रहेगा, मुझे कोर्ट के ऊपर पूरा विश्वास है, एंड कोर्ट के आदेश के हिसाब से आगे ही कार्रवाई होगी।
Well, let's go across to Saurabh now for more. And Saurabh, it was quite, incredible to see Parambir Singh, after all the speculation about where he was, finally appearing before the crime branch. And this, of course, when he's been told that he will not be arrested by the court. So he has that guarantee. So what happens next?
Well, the questioning continues. He may have protection from arrest, but like the court has ordered, he has to join the investigation. Now, I'm at Nilima building, which is, of course, the official residence that Parambir Singh resides in. This, of course, is also incidentally the residence of the Mumbai Police Commissioner as well, because this is a building where top IPS officers of the state, especially in Mumbai, are sort of housed, and this is their official accommodation. So he'll be here. He's expected to leave at around a little after 9 or 10 to sort of again appear for questioning. Now, it could be Thane or it could be another case where an FIR has been registered and Parambir Singh has been booked for extortion. There are several cases, so there is going to be a fair amount of questioning that he is going to face. And like Parambir Singh says, he will follow the orders of the court. But the Maharashtra government also says that they will also take whatever legal action they can. But the fact is that he's still a serving DG rank officer, so he'll have access to his official car, he'll have access to the official paraphernalia that comes along with his post and his rank. And that's something that we saw yesterday as well. I mean, while he went to appear for questioning at the Unit 9 office, he still had a car with a police flag and a 3-star placed on it, and that's because he's still a serving officer. So in terms of his rank, in terms of his position, he's still there in the police, in the top hierarchy of the police. That's something that's to be noted. But of course, he's going to face questioning, and incidentally, he's going to face questioning by officers of a force that he led even at the beginning of this year. And that's perhaps the irony of all of this, that a man who led the force now of course facing questioning from officers who were subordinate to him in the Mumbai police, and of course they're questioning him. But all of this will happen today over the course of the day. We have no clarity on where Parambir Singh plans to go, though there is a possibility that he may even appear before the Chandiwal, but that's unlikely to happen is what we're being told, because Parambir Singh has already told the Chandiwal Commission that he has nothing more to add. Now, what is the Chandiwal Commission? Well, it's a commission that was set up by the state government to inquire into the allegations made by Parambir Singh against the former Home Minister Anil Deshmukh, who also had to resign from his post after these allegations were made by Parambir Singh in a letter to the Chief Minister. So these are the developments. He is likely to appear for questioning, but where and when is something that we still don't have clarity on.
All right, Saurav, thanks so much for joining us with those details. Well, let's now focus on the farmers' protest, the largest, longest continuous protest in the history of independent India, and today it completes 1 year. Thousands of farmers from Haryana and Punjab have been heading to the Shingu and Tikri borders of the national capital as they protest against the centre's farm laws at Delhi borders. Completes a year today. These farmers come from various districts in these states, and the Samyukt Kisan Morcha, the umbrella body of various farm unions spearheading the ongoing surge, has said that the farmers' movement, which began on the 26th of November last year, will complete a year. They termed it a historic struggle. Most importantly, a meeting of the SKM will be held tomorrow at the Shingu border. Well, joining us from the Shingu border is Akshay, and let's go across to him for more. Akshay, we can see a lot of security is there at Tikri and Shingu border, and tell us what's happening. What is the plan for today as it completes 1 year of the farmers' protest on the outskirts of Delhi?
The farmers' agitation that started on 26 November 2020 completes 1 year now. So this is 1 year anniversary of the farmers' agitation, which started initially against the 3 contentious farm laws, but then it spread out, and the other pending demands that the farmers have been raising for past few decades also were raised by these farmers who are present here at the Shingu border, at Tikri border and Ghazipur border as well. As far as the programs are concerned, there are several programs that are scheduled for today, including a mass protest at Singhu, Tikri and Ghazipur border, and this will be considered in a way show of strength by the farmers ahead of the march that is planned on 29th of November as the winter session starts in the parliament. As far as the other distant states are concerned, from where the farmers cannot converge here at the borders of the national capital, then in those states at the capitals and the district headquarters, the farmers, local farmers there and the local farmer unions there will be protesting at the district headquarters and the capitals. As far as the security is concerned, yes, the security is being beefed up just ahead of the march that is planned. So far there has been no permission by the Delhi police to the farm unions to march inside the national capital. So the initial plan was that 500 tractors from Singhu and Tikri border and Ghazipur border will enter into the national capital. They will go till the parliament, and the agitation will continue for the day, and then the farmers will return back, and this will continue for the entire winter session. But to stop that, I would like to show what exactly is being done here. So these kind of trucks were seen in the past as well. They are filled with sand. These are some heavy trucks that are parked here at the borders of the national capital, especially at the agitation sites, to stop the farmers from entering into the national capital. Now, since 1 year is completed today of the farmers' agitation, the Delhi police has beefed up the security. You can see a lot of security personnel here manning these borders. There are hundreds of security personnel inside, but also to put some physical barriers, as we have seen. There are concertina wires, there are these concrete-filled cement blocks, and now to further beef up the security, to further intensify the security, these kind of trucks are being parked. Now, this was also done approximately a year back when these kind of trucks were parked at the borders of the national capital. But in a year, especially after the incident of 26th January, the security has been beefed up multifold. So you can see what kind of arrangements are here. This is concrete filled in these cement blocks. There are concertina wires, and all this is being done to stop the farmers from entering into the national capital. Now, whether the Delhi police will provide some kind of permission for the farm union leaders, the farmers, to enter into the national capital, or is it going to be a situation where there is a possibility of confrontation between the farmers and the security personnel, like it has happened earlier as well? That remains to be seen, but the Delhi police remains guarded, and especially with the central government announcing that all the 3 contentious farm laws will be rolled back, it doesn't seem that so far the center is willing to negotiate on the other demands that are being raised by the farmers, especially a guarantee on MSP, and along with the other demands that have been raised by the farmers for the past 1 year.
All right, Akshay, thanks so much for joining us. With that, Akshay, they're reporting from the Shingu border as the farmers' agitation there completes 1 year. Time for a break now. Coming up on the other side, 66 students have tested positive in a college in Karnataka. They're all isolating. More testing to be done today. Welcome back. COVID news now from Karnataka, and a day after a cluster outbreak was reported at the SDM Medical College and Hospital in Karnataka, where 66 students tested positive. Now the health department today will subject nearly 3,000 both clinical and non-clinical staff to COVID tests in its college premises. Nearly 66 students tested positive after attending a college freshers party that had been organized on its premises on the 17th. Well, let's go across to Shrija now for more on this story. And Shrija, the good news is that none of these students, the disease is not very severe, and today more testing is going to take place on campus.
Yes, that's right. In fact, the latest that we're picking up from the health department is that nearly 3,000, this is clinical and non-clinical staff, will be subjected to COVID test. And that apart, what's important to also note that these 66 students who have tested positive were also fully vaccinated. Both the doses were already taken, but however, they have tested positive. This only after attending a freshers party which was organized within the college premises, which is at SDM College in Dharwad district of Karnataka. But what also remains to be seen from the health department, if at all any action will be initiated against the government. This is against the Epidemic Act. Remember, they already had quite a lot of students gathering, and also what's important to know that in the month of June, the Karnataka government had also taken a decision that medical students will in fact get vaccinated as a part of the Karnataka government's vaccination drive, and that the colleges can be thrown open to the students. So now we understand at least 600 of the students will in fact were present for that particular party, the Freshers' Day party. But what also remains to be seen as of now, as we speak, nearly 66 have come out positive. Most students will also be in fact subjected to COVID tests. Remember, more test reports are likely to come out by this evening.
All right, Shrija, and do stay on with us as we stay with news from Karnataka, where vegetable prices in Karnataka are skyrocketing. In fact, rain in the state has damaged crops on over 5 lakh hectares, and the price of tomatoes have touched 95 rupees per kilo. Remember, in Tamil Nadu, they're over 100 rupees a kilo. Let's go back to Shrija for more. And Shrija, this is something that's really, hitting household budgets.
Well, that's the situation as far as Karnataka is concerned. Over the past 1 week, we have been seeing how incessant rains have completely ravaged. In fact, nearly 5 lakh hectares of the standing crops is what we are given to understand. But however, he also continues to state that the estimate can also go up to nearly 7 lakh. Now, because of which the impact has been especially on the people. The people are consumers are bearing the brunt. The price of tomatoes that we are looking at today is anywhere between, in fact, different varieties have been priced between 70 rupees to nearly 110 rupees. The costliest tomato that we are looking at is going at a rate of 120 rupees. Now, not just the tomato prices that we're looking at, but also onion prices. Just about a week ago, the price of the onion was at nearly 20 rupees, between 15 and 20 rupees, but today it's being priced anywhere between 45 to 50. Speaking to some of the vendors, we also understand that this price inflation will at least continue for the next 1 week or so. And also just yesterday, after the cabinet meeting, Basavaraj Bommai had also announced a compensation to the farmers, to those farmers who had lost especially the crops during the incessant flooding. Back to you.
All right, Shrija, thanks so much for joining us with that. So vegetable prices skyrocketing there in Karnataka caused by the rain damage. Well, time for us to slip into a short break. Coming up on the other side with a new variant that has been detected in South Africa, a case in Hong Kong. What does it mean for India? Welcome back. Now, the big story on the COVID front, the Health Ministry has now called for tighter screening at airports for passengers coming from South Africa, Hong Kong and Botswana, where a new variant of COVID, B.1.1529, has been found with multiple mutations and has led to a surge in infections. The Union Health Secretary's letter to state says that multiple cases of this COVID variant have been reported in Botswana, South Africa, and even one case in Hong Kong. And this variant is reported to have a significantly higher number of mutations and therefore has serious public health implications for the country. So they've asked for better screening and checking of passengers who've come in from these countries. Well, to talk more about this, we are now joined by Dr. Hemant Deshmukh, Dean, KEM Hospital, and Dr. Suranjit Chatterjee, Senior Consultant, Internal Medicine, Indraprastha Apollo Hospital. Thank you so much, doctors, for joining us. And Dr. Deshmukh, first to you, this was always something that was expected and, anticipated, that there will be some new variant emerging. So what do we know so far about this particular variant, and what does it mean that it can evade immunity?
Good morning, Gargi. This new COVID variant the spike protein is dramatically different from the previous strains or the previous COVID virus, as you can say. And since this spike protein is totally different, this virus is likely to mutate a lot of times as compared to the previous COVID-19 virus, and hence this COVID variant can be designated as variant of interest, variant of concern, or probably right now it is a variant of under investigation. Now, when we say that this is a variant under investigation, it simply means that anybody who is tested positive from these countries, which are high-risk countries like South Africa, Botswana or Hong Kong, most of these patients who would test positive, their samples would be definitely sent for genome sequencing. And what we would learn from this genome sequencing is going to have a profound impact on the amount of testing, tracing and surveillance that would be required in the public health domain. Now, this COVID variant can only be eliminated by testing and tracking. And it is very important for us to understand that the visa restrictions which are going down, the restrictions on travel are being lifted, and a lot of travelers are going to be transiting through these three countries. And hence it is very important for us to understand that all these patients who are coming would have a good surveillance mechanism at all the entry points of the country.
All right. We do know that perhaps the name of this variant might be new. That's something that WHO is considering. Dr. Chatterjee, the worry is that it could affect those who've already been vaccinated already. We've been seeing quite a few breakthrough cases.
Oh, it could basically, what is being speculated, that it could have an immune escape phenomena. And even if you are vaccinated, that this disease can infect you. Obviously, there are still quite a few holes in the, we need to study more about this variant. There are quite a few holes in the knowledge about this variant. But yes, what can be speculated, that whether it can be more serious, whether it is more transmissible. So it is very, very important that when a new strain comes in and when a new mutant variant comes in, we need to be very careful, because it is a health concern, it is a public health concern, because even in vaccinated people, it can infect large number of people. That's what we have seen in South Africa. So that's why we need to be careful about it.
Right. Dr. Sunila Garg, already, there's been a push that there's a need for a booster dose of the vaccine. That's, from many quarters, we're hearing that. Many doctors in Maharashtra, we believe, have already got that booster dose. So this makes a case for the booster dose if we're having these new variants that have this escape immunity.
Yeah, Gargi, this is a very important issue which you have raised, and the same problem continues to be in Africa also. There we have seen that almost 41% have received one dose and 30% plus have received just 2 doses. And they're thinking of, expediting their vaccine paces with regard to 2 doses. So similar is the case in Indian context also, where we have got approximately, about 83% of the eligible population which has been vaccinated with 1 dose and 43% plus who have been vaccinated with the 2 dose. So the need of the hour is to quickly vaccinate everybody with 2 doses of vaccination. And then we should think about, our evolving vaccination strategy and think about the boosters. So as of now, we will say that we are seeing low infections because we had, a lot of natural infections and we had 119 crore of the vaccination doses. So it is very important to look from that perspective. The viruses will come and go, but they have to find a susceptible host. That is important. And susceptible host will not be there if all of us are protected, either, through the vaccination, that is number 1 case, and 2 doses of vaccination. And the second part is with regard to the natural immunity, which we had in good numbers. So we should not wait for that. And the third part is, along with that, you see, COVID appropriate behavior should not be let down at any cost, because this is one thing where, we cannot predict the course of the infection. It could be turning towards endemicity, or we could have pockets of, high infections also. Similarly, and we have, variations like we have seen in Africa. The virus has already undergone, at the level of spike protein, 32 rounds of mutation. So that is another important thing. And very quickly, we have seen 22 cases also. So we have to be very vigilant with regard to genome sequencing also. That is important.
In fact, that has been a concern about whether we're doing enough in aggressive genome sequencing. It already seems that in many parts of the country, the COVID story was almost over. We see large gatherings, there are rallies, there are all kinds of events also happening. Dr. Deshmukh, already we've seen one case in Karnataka from a medical college there in Dharwad, in which, there's been a big number of cases among students, 66 cases of COVID. All of them have been vaccinated, and the good news is that that the cases are mild over there, but such incidents we need to keep an eye out for. Even the army officers at an IIM, a bunch of them also just tested positive.
Yeah, when we say that there are breakthrough infections of COVID-19, it simply means that probably the various virus which are getting infected to already people who have been vaccinated should definitely be sent for genome sequencing, one part. And the second most important thing would be universal masking, which we cannot avoid at any cost. And universal masking is going to protect most of the population, irrespective of which variant we are thinking of. And the second most important thing is the host is important, because the virus is getting replicated, the virus is getting a different strain, and the amount of genome sequencing that is going to throw up the knowledge about the genes and the virus itself is going to have serious implications on the way that we are going to have a protective mechanism in the country to avoid getting infected. Since the spike protein is different, I don't think the vaccine is going to help. So we have to see to it that universal masking, social distancing is going to be of paramount importance in probably 2022.
Right, Dr. Suranjit, we keep saying this, that, continue practicing COVID-appropriate behavior, but it's quite clear if you watch the news, if you see, the events that are taking place, that's not really happening.
Absolutely true. You saw the festivals. Luckily, the surge hasn't happened, at least in the northern part of the country. In Delhi, the surge hasn't happened, at least. It's absolute inappropriate behavior. I observe it even in the hospitals, how people, even in the hospitals when they come, are not wearing masks and all that. So totally inappropriate behavior is happening in this country. And as I would agree with all the other panelists, that if we don't have a COVID appropriate behavior, then we are not ending this pandemic. This is going to continue, because viruses are known to mutate, and every other day we'll have a new variant. So it is absolutely mandatory that we follow this protocol.
Right, and continue with, aggressive testing, genomic sequencing, and, spot where we see these surges or clusters of COVID cases. I'm out of time. Thank you so much, doctors, for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, time for us to slip into a short break. Coming up on the other side, we speak to students at IIM Bengaluru about the recruitment process that's been taking place over the last 2 days there.
And we had to send apology letters or emails to many companies.
Welcome back. India marks the 13th anniversary of the 26/11 terror attacks today. On the 26th of November 2008, Pakistani trained terrorists had struck at multiple locations in Mumbai. Over 160 people lost their lives, over 200 people were injured. And now a report from IIM Bengaluru. In a completely online process, the Indian Institute of Management in Bengaluru has placed all of its students for summer internships in just 2 days, a record time for a larger than usual number of students and a big change from the 2020 situation. So what does this indicate for different sectors of the economy? Maya Sharma spoke to students and faculty at the institute.
We're in the beautiful and very distinctive campus of the Indian Institute of Management here in Bengaluru. And we're here to talk to the staff and students about summer placements. To begin with, Professor U. Dinesh Kumar, you are in charge of this entire placement process, and has it been different this year? What do you see as being different?
So the major difference is the response from the recruiters. Okay. It was massive compared to the last few years. Yeah. And we had many companies showing interest to recruit from us. And we had to send apology letters or emails to many companies because we couldn't accommodate them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Despite the pandemic, despite everything.
That's true.
Now,
that's true.
Of course, IIM students don't usually have a problem finding placements, but even with that context, what do you think this means for the economy?
So it's a clear signal that economy is reviving, right? Not just based on what I'm observing within IIM Bangalore, but we also interact with other institutes. Yeah. And I got few reports that the institute which never had 100% placements, they were able to place all the students, right? So that is a clear indication that economy is reviving.
Fantastic. So it's not just the IIMs, it's not just the students here, but other places as well, seeing much better placement. But these are the students of IIM, and Shreyas, Ketaki and Yash joining us here. Shreyas, what sector will you be interning in?
So I'll be interning for a consulting company.
Okay.
And the reason why I chose consulting is because of the fact that you get to work across various sectors, and it's like ever challenging work. And also the fact is that the consulting industry is on a growing path because of the pandemic. And you can see that many companies are going digital now, so they lack the technological and strategic skills which are required, and that is why consulting would come in handy here to help them out.
And is it really one of the fastest growing sectors now, the sector most in demand, could you say?
Yes, in a way, it's almost growing at a 30% pace. So I would say that, it's been growing at a very steady pace from the past few years.
And in response to the pandemic as well?
Yes. They have seen a pretty good growth because of how companies were kind of stuck before the pandemic, and due to the pandemic they were facing financial crunches and everything. So they now want to get revived back into the business. So that is why consultants would help them manage to get them back on track.
Okay, and Ketki, what sector are you heading into for your placement?
So I'll be interning with an investment banking company this summer. And definitely I think some of those issues, some of the things that Shreyas mentioned really translate for me as well. So it's very challenging, it's very dynamic. You get to learn a lot, you get to explore a lot of sectors because it's IB, right? So you kind of work with a big variety, big diversity of sectors. So that's definitely a big thing. And I personally enjoy numerical and quantitative skills are really good. And you hone those at IMB, and then you get to translate those skills as well in your internship. So I'm really looking forward to it.
That's good. Nice to know somebody who likes their numbers. And how has the pandemic affected this sector? Do you see the fact that there's such good placement this year?
Yes.
Has that changed as well?
That's definitely the thing. So we didn't have as good of a finance portfolio last year, but this year we've seen a massive jump. We've seen a lot of really great IB companies coming to campus, a lot of really good banks coming to campus. So we've been able to invite them, we've been able to hold on, we've been able to develop really great relationships. So that's pretty cool.
Yash, where are you heading?
Yeah, so I'm interning at analytics company. So I choose analytics sector because this sector goes in complement with every other sector, be it operations, be it consulting, be it sales and marketing. And I like to play with numbers. So data-driven insights and giving companies and other firms strategies, how to market their strategies using data. So I chose this sector, and this sector is reviving. We can see a growth of 10% as compared to last year in analytics sector, and analytics sector markets around 30% of all sectors in markets.
So that is a huge growth. So the pandemic has not laid it low. There is still some there's still a good deal of growth there.
Yeah, so you can see analytics was used during pandemic also by different companies. Even our COVID portal was using analytics to drive data insights. How many COVID patients are there in a particular state, in a particular hospital and all. So analytics sector is a sector which I think revived during pandemic also and is reviving now also.
That is fantastic, because we usually think that the pandemic would have hurt different sectors, but analytics being used during pandemic in real life applications, that's really fascinating. Now, in addition to the faculty, of course, we have students who are very much involved in the placement process. These are your juniors, are they? And you've been helping them get placed, Anusha and Charandeep. What was it all like? Was it very difficult to get people to come here, or was it easier than ever this year?
I think it was easier, I would say, this year, because apart from our regular recruiters, we've been getting calls from new recruiters. A lot of new recruiters had come into campus offering plethora of roles. So I think it had been easier this year. Even for our existing recruiters, they wanted to hire in way larger numbers as compared to last year. So I think we are seeing a revival there.
So even the regular people who came in wanted more students?
Yes, they wanted more students.
That's fantastic. And what did it involve? It must have been a lot of phone calls, a lot of work.
Yeah, so I mean, usually it involves a lot of cold calling, but this year we saw the opposite trend, that companies were approaching us from their end directly, and we had to do less work in that way, I could say. So, and even for the regular recruiters, some of them opened up new roles and everyone came in with higher vacancies.
That's great. That is really interesting. So they were approaching you. It was not a question of, we'll call you. They did call you. They
literally did call us. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's great. Rupa, you're senior managing here for the Career Development Services. Did you see a big difference from previous years? And were you surprised, considering we're still in a pandemic?
Yes, I mean, it's really fantastic to see what happened this year and how we could do those record placements over 2 interview days, because earlier we used to go till 4 interview days, and we were having to had a proper outreach strategy for reaching out to new companies, getting them to come to IIMB for the first time. And whereas I've already started getting calls even before we have entered into the phase of lateral placements and final placements, new companies who want to come and recruit our final year students and be part of the final placement. They've never come here, so they've already started reaching out, and this seems really a good way to get into the new phase of recruitments and have new companies come to IIMB. So yes, it's definitely a positive swing for all of us.